Hi everyone, Josh at House Guitars here, continuing the Building a House Guitar video series. And on my bench here I have the body for our guitar, the LG, headed for Paramount, Wisconsin, as well as the neck. And the headstock is now complete, and now it's time to cut the dovetail neck joint. So just before I do that, in the last video where I had the body, I had just glued the binding on. I've now gone ahead and cleaned the binding up a bit so that the edges are smooth on the top here. You'll remember, if you watched my binding video, I talked about the mitered purflings and wanting to get really clean joints. And you can see there, really happy with how these turned out. Looks very nice, and still have a little bit of cleanup to do on the binding. I just haven't cleaned in the waist area, but I've done what's needed here so that I can go ahead and cut the dovetail neck joint. So there, as far as neck joints go, there's a variety of different styles that people are currently using. Dovetail is kind of the old traditional style. There's a straight mortise and tenon, which is held in place with bolts, and there's a bolt-on butt joint, which is just the flat surface of the neck bolted to the flat surface of the body. Now, the reason I've chosen to go with the dovetail is I really like it when I'm constructing the guitar. The dovetail is a self-locking joint, so I can just pop the neck onto the body without the need of bolts, and it'll just stay in place, and I can use that to take measurements. It's quick and efficient that way. I learned to build with a dovetail, so it doesn't seem overly complex to me now that I've done a lot of them. So the advantages to the dovetail are that it's a extremely strong joint when fitted properly. The downsides is it can be kind of complex to cut and to fit. And also, if it is a glued dovetail, it's kind of messy to take apart. So what I do is a bolt-on dovetail. So I use the dovetail templates. I cut a traditional dovetail joint, but rather than gluing the dovetail in place, I hold it there with bolts. And I'm relying more on the bolts for strength than I am for the dovetail, but the result is a very strong joint, and it's also, the result is that you get a joint that's fairly easy to take apart. If I ever need to take the neck off of one of my guitars for repair work, it's just a matter of heating up the tongue of the fretboard over the body, lifting that off the top, undoing the bolts, and the neck pops right off. It's really simple, and there's a couple of my guitars I've had to do some work on. And it makes that so much easier than trying to deal with a dovetail neck joint that has been glued and requires steam, and you have the risk of damaging the finish and just other complicated things that go with a glued dovetail neck joint. So off camera, between videos, some things that I've done in preparation is I've sanded the upper bout portion here above the sound hole, and it's now sanded to a very precise angle. I've marked where the saddle is going to be, and I've measured the gap when I hold a straight edge on the angle. The gap is exactly where I want it to be, and it's very critical that the neck be at the proper angle. If it's tilted too far back, you'll have problems. If it's tilted too far forward, your action will be high, and you'll have problems as well. And I get a lot of guitars in here for repair. Lower end factory stuff where one of the things that's not done properly is the angle of the neck joint, and it makes it very difficult to get a good playing guitar. So as I said, the dovetail neck joint can be kind of complex to cut, but over here I have my dovetail neck jig. This is made by the Luthier Tool Company, and it's the single most expensive piece of guitar building equipment that I've purchased, and it takes a complex task like cutting a dovetail, and it allows it to be done basically in one shot, so that the dovetail comes out perfect each time. And by taking some measurements off the body, it ensures that when I cut the dovetail neck joint, it lines up perfectly with the center line on the body of the guitar, and I also get it at the correct angle. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and set up my jig. I need to take some measurements off the body. Then you're going to see me cutting the dovetails, and I'm going to stop periodically just to explain what I'm doing. So here you see I have the body of the guitar. I have the template all lined up and secured on the top, and now I'm going to go ahead and route the body portion of the dovetail joint. And there you have the body portion of the dovetail cut, and just if you're wondering what you're seeing there, there's a couple dowels that have been cut into, and those were just alignment dowels when I glued the Baltic birch plywood on top of my neck block for the L-shaped neck block. And you can go way back to one of the first few videos on the construction of the rim for a full explanation of the neck block. And you also see the hole right there for the truss rod access. So I'm going to go ahead now and set up to cut the neck portion of the dovetail. Okay, so I'm at the point now where I want to cut the neck portion of the dovetail, and just trying to set this up so I can see what I'm showing you on the video. But what I've done is I've gone ahead and done a couple test cuts to make sure that the measurements I took for the angle of the neck were proper. And so I cut a very shallow tenon, and I cut this whole portion on the edge flat. And then what I can do is by setting that into place, I take my straight edge, and you're not going to be able to see this on the video because there's no light behind the body. And I can't even see 100% if this is showing up on the video. I'm just going to move to the other side. There we go. But if I lay the straight edge along the body, what I find is that there is a perfectly straight transition from the flat surface of the neck to the flat surface of the upper bout, which I'm looking for. And because I've taken some measurements off the center line of the guitar, and I've taken that over to my neck jig, I've dialed it in, so I know that when I cut the tenon, it's going to be perfectly straight in line with the body. So I'm just going to move my camera over here. So I've got the jig all set up. It's dialed in, locked in place. I just need to install or attach the neck, and then go ahead and cut the dovetail. Okay, so here's the final result. There's my dovetail, and I can go and I can insert it to the body there. And that is a virtually perfect dovetail neck joint. It will require really next to no fitting. I'll probably take about 3 minutes once I'm ready to permanently attach the neck to the body. I'll take like 3 minutes just to refine it ever so slightly, just make sure it's fitting very snug. But as far as the alignment goes, no gaps anywhere. Straight surface transfer from the neck to the body. So there you have it. That's how I cut a dovetail neck joint, and I'm ready now to go ahead, put the truss rod in, fretboard on, get the neck carved up, and just get the body into the finishing process. So thanks for watching, and you can watch more of these videos on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, and for more information on my guitars, visit houseguitars.com, and be sure to visit Ken Fox's website, Paramount Guitars, for a great selection of my guitars in the US. Thanks for watching.
you.